Bonjour, je suis Elijah et bienvenue au notre 12e épisode de Cinématique. Cinema wouldn't be where it is right now without the French New Wave. Your classic Hollywood films such as Tarantino's Pulp Fiction or Coppola's Lost in Translation are inspired by the French New Wave. So what makes this film so iconic and influential? Well, let's take a blast from the past and let's talk about the French New Wave with the most iconic film of that era, which is Breathless by Jean-Luc Godard. Now let's take a look at the person who breathed life into Breathless, Jean-Luc Godard. Godard was undeniably one of the faces that made the French New Wave a valuable piece of cinema history. Jean is known for his unconventional camera styles and storytelling. He brought the style of jump cuts which were essential in his film. He is also an essential writer for film magazines Cahiers du Cinéma, which he co-founded together with filmmakers like André Bazin and François Truffaut. Cahiers du Cinéma, just like Cinématique, would talk about and review the latest, classic, and even foreign films of their time. It became a big influence on seeing camera through an intellectual and philosophical perspective. Enter French New Wave, also known as La Nouvelle Vague in French, is a film movement that gained popularity in Paris, France in the late 1950s. The goal of the movement was to offer directors complete creative freedom over their projects, enabling them to forgo overly elaborate narrative in favor of improvised, existential storytelling. Modern independent auteur filmmaking was made possible by French New Wave filmmakers who revolutionized both French cinema and the film business as a whole. And in this episode, we're going to be tackling one of the pioneering and finest film from this film movement. Petty criminal Michel sees himself as a classy bad guy like Humphrey Bogart, but he panics as he kills a police officer while driving a stolen automobile. While trying to raise the funds to fly the two of them to Italy, he goes to promising journalist lover Patricia, who is hiding out in her Paris flat. Patricia, however, starts to doubt her allegiance when she finds out that her partner is being looked in for murder. A newspaper column that François Truffaut saw in the news in brief served as a loose inspiration for the film Breathless. The real-life Michel Porte and his American girlfriend journalist Beverly Lynette are the inspirations for Michael Pioca's persona when Porte stole a car in November 1952 to visit his sick mother in Le Havre. He killed a motorcycle officer named Grimberg in the process. Together with Claude Chabrol, Truffaut developed a treatment for the story, but they abandoned it when they couldn't agree on the plot's organization. Godard read the treatment, enjoyed it, and wanted to create the film. With the exception of the first sequence, which was filmed at the end of the filming, Godard filmed the majority of the movie in chronological order. The cinematographer Coutard noted that the editing had panache in it that didn't match all the way it was shot. The editing gave it a completely different tone than the films we were used to watching. The use of jump cuts in the film has been praised for being unique. The jump cut approach was not intended during the film's filming or earlier phases of editing, according to Assistant Director Pierre Risson. Andrew Saris viewed it existentially, expressing the meaninglessness of the time interval between moral decisions. This decision brings us to the use of jump cuts. In Breathless, you don't have to be a film expert to notice the use of jump cuts. You might be wondering, jump cuts are usually not pleasant to look at. But why in Breathless does it make jump cuts look good? He utilized jump cuts to send a message to us viewers about the central theme of the movie. Life can seem fast-paced. Godard once said, "I remember very clearly how I invented this famous way of cutting that is now used in commercials. We took all the shots and systematically cut out whatever could be cut, while trying to maintain some rhythm." Breathless' achievement, according to Godard, was an accident. It was released in a world when Hollywood films and the Hollywood studio tradition had significant influence on French filmmaking. But this film shakes up the Hollywood ideal and alters the course of filmmaking. It features almost every characteristic of a typical new wave movie, including handheld cameras, unidentifiable or unqualified actors, genuine language, ambient light, on-location shooting, etc. In Breathless, Godard's camera concentrates on movement and the spaces between these people rather than the story, because the protagonists break the fourth wall and the major subjects are disgruntled teenagers who led bohemian lifestyles. Breathless, which turned stories inside out and utterly reinvented storytelling, continues to this day to impact film by the way we see it and by the way we make it. Breathless feels quite contemporary despite being made in a time where film was constrained. This may be due to how it has influenced film culture. Although there is still quite nothing like Breathless, its singularity has encouraged aspiring filmmakers to push the boundaries of the medium. Who knows what kinds of films will be made as the future of cinema progresses? So, did you like our latest episode? Stay tuned for our last episode 2 weeks from now. See you there!